Heidi and Frank Show. Now with Lisa May.
On the Rock of Southern California, 95.5 KLOS.
Heidi and Frank Show. Memorial Day weekend is pretty much here. I mean, a lot of people are leaving this afternoon to try to beat traffic. Well, I have some bad news for you. Everyone had the same idea. They say the worst time to leave for your Memorial Day travels is Thursday afternoon.
Oh.
Yeah, everyone had the same idea. Also, people be hitting the beaches and the lakes, and probably a lot of people going water skiing. And I don't know if you saw the video that's going viral right now of a 6-month-old in Florida broke a world record last Saturday by water skiing for over 686 feet. The skis were linked together to make it easier for this little girl, and there was a bar attached to it to hang on to, but it's great. You know, like when you see a squirrel water skiing?
Love it.
It's kind of like that. This is a baby water skiing.
Oh, my God.
It's awesome. So I think
Must watch.
Eric's going to post it on HeidiandFrank.com. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, the Heidi and Frank app, do that in the iTunes App Store or on your Android, and you can get it, the show, anywhere you want by becoming a VIP and downloading the app. 1-800-95.5 KLOS. You're going to need that number right now. Like I said, Memorial Day is here, and then it's known to be a big drinking weekend, and you got to be careful. There was a guy in North Dakota. He showed up drunk at a hospital and said he got attacked by a bear, but he actually broke into a zoo with his friend, stuck his arm in the bear enclosure, and got bitten on the hand.
Oh, I root for the bear every time.
Oh, alcohol.
Right?
So if that happens to you, yeah, call the doctor. But if you happen to get pulled over, and there's going to be a lot of cops out this weekend, if you happen to get pulled over, you need to call somebody else, and that guy would be Myles Berman, and he is here. He's coming on to talk about all the DUI checkpoints and DUI enforcement patrolling for Memorial Day weekend.
He does it every weekend.
Right now, I'm going to give you the number right now. Just put it in your phone. Just make it one of your contacts.
Speed dial.
Speed dials. 1-888, the number 4, TOPGUN. Hello, Myles.
Hello, Frank. Hello, Heidi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is this your favorite time of year?
It is, but first, can I compliment you? Nice wheels.
Oh, you like that?
Oh, yeah.
The Mike Thompson RV.
Oh,
it's
yeah, right?
Beautiful.
Crazy.
Yes, but there's a silhouette of a female that's bigger than everybody else, and it kind of, I think it's
Yeah, they
you.
got the name right.
Frank,
They did.
what happened to you?
I know, I'm not on there. Saying, let me get a silhouette of
know.
Heidi standing above the crowd. But yeah, that's how we get around now, which is pretty smart because we have a guy who's the official driver of the RV because they don't trust us to wreck it. Plus, we're going to go out. I think tomorrow we're going down to Gladstone's in Malibu and just kind of kicking off Memorial Day weekend. And the RV is going to be down there. It's just an impromptu party. Anybody wants to join us down there?
What time?
Like around noon. Well, we get off at 10, Myles. Come on.
Right. It's happy hour by then.
It's happy hour for us. So if you want to kick off your Memorial Day weekend, you can stop down at Gladstone's tomorrow with us. But yeah, a lot of people are going to be driving to destinations, but then there's going to be a lot of law enforcement out as well because this is a big drinking weekend. So
It is. Don't forget drugs, too.
Well, he never
Marijuana.
does.
I won't forget my drugs. I
Other-
almost forgot the drugs.
There's a big push, not just alcohol, but for drugs, especially marijuana.
How is that going with the being able? There's no breathalyzer for marijuana. I mean, obviously they can test for alcohol through breathalyzer, blood, urine, everything you've always told about over the years. But
Medical marijuana, if you got your card.
but that doesn't. You still like they don't operate vehicles if you're on Percocets or something like that. So if you are on marijuana, they're trying to figure out a way to test for that. Is there a way to test for that?
Yes, and they're starting to develop swabs and other types of things to quickly test for the presence of marijuana or other drugs. But usually it's a blood test or a urine test. And they go through the similar type process. They do the investigation and they try to do the field sobriety test, and they sometimes call in a drug recognition expert.
Right, that's what I've heard about, the drug recognition expert.
Yeah, but the big thing is now the push for making the arrests. And interestingly, right now, the DMV won't take your license and have a second proceeding against you for drugs or marijuana, only for alcohol. which never made sense to me. But now they're going to come up with something, probably another
That's the tough piece,
procedure
though,
for drugs as
Because
well.
if they, let's say you get your medical marijuana card because you have back pain. I mean, excruciating back pain. You don't want to take an opioid. You want to take, just medical marijuana.
Well, that doesn't matter, Heidi. If
then
you're not supposed to
the
drive
card-
on
the
opioids
card-
But
either.
I got to go to work. I have to do a job. I've got to. I don't.
Take your wheels, and then you got
Yeah.
a driver.
Yeah.
There you go.
So always. I mean, I'm just saying. I think a lot of people think that way. It's like, oh, it's a medical. It's actually my
You're,
medicine. It's a
you're correct
prescription.
on. Yeah,
And I gotta go to work.
every one of our clients who not everyone, most who get
Yeah.
arrested for DUI marijuana tell us that they have the card. Not everybody has a card.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't save you. I mean, you still have to go through the prosecution and try and avoid a conviction, which it's difficult to get for the state to get a DUI conviction for marijuana, just because of the issues that are related to it. It can be in the system, the level of nanograms. Actually, some people are little better under the when
Right.
they,
Do the same
they're
rules
able
apply?
to function a little better.
Do the same rules apply, the Myles L. Berman rules about if you say you are pulled over and it's marijuana and they want to do field sobriety testing? The same rules apply for marijuana as it does for alcohol, where you can refuse all that stuff to let them build a case around that information and just say, I'm not going to do that.
No field sobriety test.
Yeah, good point. If you refuse a request for a chemical test, even if it's just marijuana or alcohol and marijuana, they can still proceed against you. But if you do a test and it's marijuana or drugs, they won't take your license. Now, alcohol is different. If you do a chemical test, it's called a chemical test. It's generally either a breath or a blood test, and you get a result that's a point or weight or greater. If you're older than 21, they will take your license from you. They just won't do it if you give the test for marijuana.
No, we didn't do it this
Or drugs.
We don't have it planned to drink on the show tomorrow, but we've done this in the past around these
Right.
weekends where we've had the LAPD or the sheriffs come in here.
I've seen and
give
heard
us,
many of those shows.
Yes, give us breathalyzers so you can understand. Okay, we've had 3 or 4 drinks, and now we're already over the legal limit, and we feel like we could be able to drive. So you're like, we're talking about right there at that cusp, knowing where you are. I mean, obviously, when you shouldn't drive and you make stupid choices.
The 3 beers at a party.
When you're right there at that cusp, and you're like, okay, oh look, we don't eat potato chips, and then you decide I'll go get them, and you've already had a couple beers because you just got there, and then you drive.
Could get in
That's what
trouble.
we're kind of talking about. Is that person who gets pulled over?
Yeah. First of all, nobody really knows what their alcohol level is. It's different for everybody.
And different depending on what you've eaten and what time of the day and all of that stuff.
Correct.
Right.
There's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of different factors, and how fast
Gender.
you metabolize.
Yeah.
And,
Like, didn't you learn something about yourself, how you metabolize alcohol?
Yes, that
internally?
Often.
that I oxidize it or metabolize it slower, so I'll keep drinking, and then all of a
Right.
sudden it'll hit me like a ton of bricks.
Right.
And interestingly, when you're absorbing alcohol, which is part of this process, breath tests administered during the absorptive phase, which is, the different periods of time, experts will disagree how long after you finish drinking, but the breath test is always too high, which is one of the reasons and one of the ways in which we're able to beat these DUI cases in court. It's just not really accurate. Breath testing is not, just as an example, it's not unusual for somebody to blow a .10 and a .12, and a person doesn't go from a .10 to a .12 in a matter of a few minutes. So, which will lead to another question, well, is it better to take breath or blood? All I can say is that we've fought both types of cases, won and win both types of cases, but breath is less accurate.
Myles L.
Okay.
Berman with us, the Top
Got
Gun DUI defense attorney, TopGunDUI.com. And Myles really good on Twitter at Myles L. Berman because right before the weekend begins, he posts where the checkpoints are going to be. And this is public knowledge. It's not like you're letting out a secret. It's like you can go onto the website and it's like it's going to be at this place at this time. And then you just kind of give us the information, right?
Yeah, we do research on it, and also police agencies notify us as to when where
Okay.
checkpoints are. But I have to thank you, Frank, for getting me into the social media world and started texting checkpoints, and we post them usually around 3, 4 o'clock on Fridays. Only known checkpoints. If we don't know the location or the time, we won't post it. We don't want people guessing. I actually have had businesses call me up and say, hey, you posted a checkpoint right near our business, and it killed business, but there wasn't a checkpoint there. So that I think it's better only to post what's known for sure. Not some people post checkpoints in individual cities, which doesn't make any sense to me, but maybe it's helpful to drivers. Police are supposed to publicize checkpoints, so we're kind of providing a public service, which is, by the way, the safest areas in which to drive where there's checkpoints.
At Myles L. Berman, we often retweet the posts that Myles does, but if we miss it for some reason, just follow Myles on Twitter at Myles L. Berman. If you have any questions for Myles, we got Rich on the phone. Hello, Rich.
Good morning, Rich.
Rich, you there?
Uh-oh.
I'm not getting anything.
I'm not either. What's going on?
Rich, you there?
Oh, boy.
Not even a dead phone sound.
Mm-mm.
The phone's even working? Are the phones even working, Sammy?
Sounds off.
All right, we've got some calls coming in. Let me talk to Bill real quick. I think he wants to talk to Myles. Hello, Bill.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Say hello to Myles L. Berman, Top Gun DUI defense attorney.
Mr. Berman, how are you, sir?
Fine, Bill. How are you?
Good, good. Okay, so I've been diagnosed with a syndrome called fermentation syndrome, where my body turns everything into alcohol, even if I do not drink.
Well, you can drink a glass of milk and then you get wasted?
Yeah, no, I don't feel like I'm drunk or anything, but my body, like any sugars, anything, it turns it in my blood into alcohol.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're somewhat familiar. We've seen this before. As a matter of fact, blood vials themselves can ferment and create alcohol in the blood vial, and the machines can't tell whether or not it's alcohol that was ingested, that somebody drank, or if it was actually created in the vial after a blood draw in a DUI case.
I've never heard of that before.
And what's it called again, Bill?
It's called fermentation syndrome.
Okay.
And I'm addressing fermentation. I once had a prosecutor call it Bermantation.
So what's your question, Bill?
I'm sorry?
What's your question?
My question is, how would I fight that? I mean, I don't drink. I stopped drinking as soon as I was diagnosed with it. But if I was to get pulled over, I mean, that's a fair fight, correct?
Yeah, and answer your question, how do you fight it? Just call 888-4-TOP-GUN.
There you go.
That's all you
Call
need to
Myles.
know.
He'll fight it for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. You said that the checkpoints are public knowledge. The police call you and let you know where things are going to be. This weekend being a Memorial Day weekend, how many more are there this weekend than a normal Friday?
It's this weekend and other holiday weekends, there's going to be a lot of checkpoints. They get grants from the federal government, then they have to spend the money, so they have the checkpoints. But especially this particular weekend, and it's a 3-day weekend,
right?
So it's gonna be all over, not just in Southern California, but throughout the state and throughout the country, for that matter. This is a way for officers to make arrests and overtime and things like that. So there's going to be a lot.
And if you're going through a checkpoint, the best thing to do is be cooperative. You don't have to offer information like, say, where you've been, where you're going. You don't have to answer those questions. You can just 10 and 2 on the wheel, looking straight ahead.
After all these years, you've become the expert, Frank.
But
that's
I've
from
known
our
Myles
show.
for a long
That's
time.
right.
We've learned from
That's
you.
right.
Yeah.
Not because you're experiencing it, but because
No.
just from the show.
All of our talks
Yes.
at the courthouse.
Yeah, I mean, a person doesn't have to, they have to identify themselves, show proof of insurance and driver's license, but they don't have to answer the questions. They don't have to say where they're coming from, where they're going to. Field sobriety tests are completely voluntary. If you're older than 21, the portable breath test machine, I said earlier, breath testing is not reliable, but the portable breath test machine is completely voluntary. The officer is supposed to tell you before the arrest, and so you don't have to take that as well. But it takes a strong person to be able to resist the
that's what I'm
temptation
saying, like,
to cooperate with the police officer. But it happens.
Where are you going? Where are you headed? I mean, I'm just like, I was at a friend's. I'm going home. I mean,
Have you had anything to drink, ma'am?
I did. Yeah. I had,
Now, that's probably the wrong answer, right, Myles?
but if I say, you know what, I had a glass of wine about an hour and a half ago.
Well, can you step out of the car?
Yeah, well, that's...
Talk to my attorney, Myles L. Berman.
There you go.
Is that it?
Here's his number.
And since I started with your show and other shows, but in particular your show, people have been calling us as they're getting pulled over, which is kind of unusual.
There's a cop behind me right now, Myles.
We
What do I do? What do I do?
we get those calls, but the when you have the odor of alcohol in your breath and you admit to drinking, that's enough for the police officer to begin to investigate. And everything that's done, generally, probably 80-90% of the time, if not 100%, is designed to get a person to give either a breath test or a blood test, either a breath test on the street or a breath test or a blood test back at the jail. That's all where it's going. So generally, the police only rely on the breath test result if they decide to charge somebody. Although we've seen people being charged as low as a .06. We've represented people who had a .03.
That's
Yeah, that's
way
like.
But still, if you're
glass and
driving
a half.
erratic, it doesn't matter. .08 is the base, is like where
The
you would be
legal
legal.
limit.
But if you're driving like an idiot at .03, then
Well, yeah, people. He unfortunately he had to go through the process, and he wasn't convicted. There was nothing happened to him. But you got a prosecutor who looks at it like he should have been drinking and driving. And as more people, more time goes on, the prosecutors are getting much more aggressive than they used to be in the past. It's just the way it is.
even though Myles L. Berman is the Top Gun DUI defense attorney, he is all about our safety first. So always have a friend drive or use Lyft or Uber or whoever.
the Heidi and Frank RV.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Might
Grab out in the back of that.
gets you around safe this weekend. And if you do need to call Myles this weekend, 1-888, the number 4 TOPGUN. Are you? What do you think about the self-driving cars? What's that going to do to Myles L. Berman?
Well, I can't. I would never drive one or ride in one. I don't feel it's a comfortable. I'd like to have control of the car, but I don't think California is going to allow self-driving cars without somebody behind the wheel, which in turn will probably increase DUI arrests because people are going to end up thinking, well, I'm not driving the car. I don't have to worry about it. Get behind the wheel, but.
That's a good point. I mean, I thought with self-driving cars, it would be okay. I can get wasted, and the horse will drive me home. But in this, you can be parked and have your keys in the ignition, not even driving. And if you're beyond the legal limit and you're drunk, passed out, and thinking you're going to sleep it off, if you have the ability to ever start that car and drive, it's still a DUI, right?
Correct. If you're,
Whoa!
if you're behind the wheel of the car, I mean, there are people that are in the back seat. There are people in the passenger seat. The keys out of the ignition. But when the police officer comes up to try and check out what's going on, they're going to ask, and the guy will say, or the gal will say, "Yeah, I drove here to park and sleep it off," or. And they actually did the right thing. If they felt that they're not good enough to drive, they pull over, but they still can end up with a DUI once they admit if they admit
They did drive.
what time that they drove there. But the self-driving cars, I'm wondering whether or not self-driving cars are able to drive without violating any vehicle code, and I don't think that's the case.
We're not there
We're
yet.
a ways away.
I think it's impossible.
We got Eric on line 1. He says he already has a DUI and has a question about it. Hello, Eric.
Yes, I do have a question. Hi to everyone there.
Hi.
And
Hello,
I had a
Eric. I'm
question.
here.
If you already have a DUI, is there any obligations that you have to do before as you get pulled over, or any checkpoints?
Well, if you're on DUI probation, you have to take a chemical test. You have to take a breath or a blood test if asked, and it's zero tolerance.
And they'll find that out when they punch in your driver's license number, right?
Correct. So, and if you violate your probation, then by having any measurable amount of alcohol in your system, then you can be cited for driving while on DUI probation and take a breath test and violation of probation.
Even if you're a passenger, or just driving?
Just driving.
Yeah, just driving,
driving.
Eric. Wow.
Okay.
He's like, oh man, I've got a DUI. I'm in the passenger seat of a guy who's drinking.
Thank you, Eric. Let's go to Rich. Hello, Rich. You're on the air with Myles L. Berman, Top Gun DUI defense attorney.
How you doing? Great show yet again. Hey, at what point, if you're pulled over, do you exercise your right to remain silent? And if they do say, "Okay, step out of the car," are you at that point pretty much done?
Okay, there's videos circulating on the internet where a guy goes through a checkpoint, doesn't roll down his window, and holds up a sign and says, forget about that in California." You have to cooperate with the police, but the cooperation is limited to identifying yourself by giving a driver's license, proof of insurance, and registration. When the officer orders you out of the car, I mean, you have to follow the command. But at the same time, you're right against self-incrimination. In my judgment, I mean, people have a right not to incriminate themselves at any time. So you can use your own judgment as to what it is that you want to share with the police officer, or you don't.
Plead
But
the
you
fifth
don't have
at that
to.
point. Is plead the fifth, or I think if I said I'd rather not say where I've been. It sounds like I've been someplace bad.
Right.
As opposed to this, I plead the fifth on that.
Well,
Yeah, does that give them probable cause to just keep pushing them because you're refusing to talk to them?
the argument would be that probable cause and base is based on facts, and if they don't have any sufficient facts in which to place you under arrest, then it's a good case for the defense for a whole host of reasons.
Right.
But nevertheless, field sobriety tests are completely voluntary. Absolutely, don't refuse to do them. You don't have to do them. They're
Right.
difficult enough to do anyway.
They really are.
Sober.
How do
You're
you
like,
do one
I
now?
don't
Can you even
know.
touch your nose, lean your head back, you're sitting down in a chair. Can you do it? All right, you did it once. There you go. All right, can you say your ABCs backwards?
I cannot do that. I mean, I can do it. It's just going to take me
No,
a while.
is that a myth or is that one of the tests? The ABCs backwards.
I've never seen it. But,
Not in
yeah,
court. He's like,
except,
he got to Y and then he screwed up.
except for that video on YouTube where the dancing guy says the alphabet backwards.
Can't you do it backwards?
ZYXWVUTSRQPONMLKJIHGFED
Sober as a judge.
Wow.
See,
Wow.
he did that so
And
that
the
he
colors of the rainbow, forwards and
Roy
backwards.
G. Biv. I don't know. Roy G.
And
Biv.
Vip Georg.
There you go. That's the trick. Thank you, Myles, for coming in. Myles L. Berman, Top Gun DUI defense attorney. TopGunDUI.com is the website. At Myles L. Berman on Twitter. And the phone number, put it in your phone right now, 1-888, the number 4, TOPGUN. Thank you, Myles. Let's check traffic right now with
Thank
Lisa
you.
May.
On the 134 freeway eastbound, right around San Fernando Road in Glendale, there's a stalled car in the third lane from the left. If you're traveling on the westbound